bring this to a safe ending. But it looks like he's staying in the neighborhood. He keeps making right turns, left turns in these residential areas. He's being tracked from that L.A. County helicopter as well as ground units at this time. Lights off now, and you can see the tinted windows as well, which make things even more challenging for officers. And again, with any pursuit, they have to assume that that suspect or suspects are armed. That is a situation that these officers have to deal with. But yes, they want to bring it to an end. And Alex, you brought up the pursuit intervention technique, and you have to have speeds about 35 miles an hour or less, and certainly more of an open road than you're seeing on these narrow residential streets, which he continues to follow here, or she, in East Los Angeles.
So, Rick, this started with Bell PD. Maywood is to the north of Bell. The driver also has been in Southgate, so right in this area of Southgate, Bell, and Maywood. And noticing this driver staying on surface streets in the neighborhood where this driver could easily get onto the 710 freeway to the east.
That's right. There's a lot of options, but he is or she is staying in this residential area here and essentially making left and right turns through this East Los Angeles neighborhood here. In that area, you have Maywood, like you said, Bell just south of there, and north of Maywood, you have the 5, 710, the 60 freeways in East L.A.
Yeah, and this is a cluster of some of the smallest communities in Los Angeles County that are all very close together, and you have the possibility of driving through many of them in a pretty short amount of time. And as this driver approaches all of these intersections, you worry about the other people involved. This driver has not been driving especially reckless in terms of what we've seen so far as compared to some of the other pursuits that we've been seeing even in recent weeks. Now picking up speed.
Just now picking up a little bit more speed. But you're right, Alex. I was noticing that. With our extreme nav system, we can track the speed, the speedometer of these suspects as they're being chased by law enforcement agents here. And making a hard right turn there, going pretty quickly, did slow down. Nearly sideswiped that vehicle. Again, in this residential area, still staying tight in this one area that he or she may be familiar with.
And strange that this person keeps turning the lights on and off. The lights are on now and will go for a certain amount of time with the lights off in neighborhoods as well, which is odd.
It certainly is, and you just don't know what the mindset of these suspects are, as always. We don't know, because they're running from police. They're trying to evade police at this time, and they'll do whatever they can to try to get away.
We all talked about the speeds. Notice the dips in the roads there. And that kind of makes it hard to go too fast because you'll bottom out. So watch as the suspect comes upon, a street there. You can see the dip right there. See it right there? Hard to pick up speed there.
Yeah.
There are a number of freeways kind of in this greater area from the 710. The south would be the 105 if you head down to Linwood. Over to the west is the 110 freeway. But this driver's staying right here in the Southgate area, which does make us wonder if the person is from that area. Remember, this started with Bell PD, which is just a bit to the north.
Yeah, and so this driver...
And you're right, you could...
Go ahead, Rick.
You can see the speeds picking up, lights on, lights off, as you guys said, running through those stoplights, stop signs. And again, they can write this individual up once they are apprehended for each and every traffic violation. Now on a major surface street here, and we're watching our extreme nav picking up speed. As you can see, 60 miles an hour. This is District Boulevard, but still in that same general vicinity, not far from a lot of freeway alternatives at this time. Back into right on the border of Southgate and East LA. Look at that, really close there. And you can see there is some vehicular traffic on these roads on this Friday night at 10:24, picking up speeds as fast as we've seen, right? Alex and Christine, there you go. You can see the LA County helicopter close to
street there, much wider. Handles a lot more traffic. You don't have the dips in the road that you have in those residential areas. And perhaps those dips are there to control traffic, to slow people down in a residential area where there are families and children right there blowing through a red light.
And this is the kind of area where if the officers were on top of him and if he slowed down a bit, this is the kind of area where they could do a pit maneuver because they do have more room in the road and would be able to execute that. But so far, he's driving too fast, and it doesn't appear that those officers are right on his tail about to do that, at least anytime soon. Now that you see they are starting to get close.
Definitely a lot more real estate, and there isn't a tremendous amount of vehicular traffic, so they would have that option. Typically, if the pursuit is going 35 miles an hour or greater, that's usually the threshold that they're going to back off and not try that pit maneuver, essentially where they nudge the back end, either the left end or the right end of the vehicle that's being pursued. But now really picking up speeds. Look at that. Our speedometer on our extreme nav showing close to 80 miles an hour through. That was a green light. Okay, it looked like it was red because those other cars were stopping. And again, remember, if you are in an area and you experience anything like this, just pull to the side like you would if lights and sirens were coming, if police were coming, if fire were coming. Let the officers do their job. Don't try to be heroes at any time. You can endanger yourself and the officers as well as this pursuit continues.
And very scary to see this driver with the lights off going so fast on these streets that appear to be wide open. Somebody could really get caught off guard here. You talk about a pit maneuver. They have to kind of know where this driver's going. Now it's been a little unpredictable still in the Southgate area, but on these busier, wider streets. So I'm not sure if there's a pattern right now, Rick.
Yeah, you're right. And the one thing that the driver is doing consistently is pretty much staying in the same Southgate, East Los Angeles area, doing loops around this neighborhood. They border each other, those two communities here. This is a bit to the southeast of downtown Los Angeles, very close to the 5, the 710, and the 60 freeways here. And he's really ripping out. Lights off now. Unclear why he or she turns on and off. Now the light's on.
Yep.
And back on again, just as I said, they were off. And perhaps he just, or she just needs, the suspect needs illumination. So when the suspect needs illumination, they turn the lights on. When they don't, they turn them off. So we'll see. I'm not clear on the pattern there. Some speed bumps there. Now, one of those more narrow residential streets. You could see opposing traffic there. You could also see a little bit of illumination coming from the helicopter. The night sun is what we call it. That big beam of light that these helicopters will shoot down on the vehicle to help ground crews so that the helicopter can track them as well as the units on the ground to safely bring this to an end. Because this is dangerous. People are out. It is Friday night. There could be some pedestrian traffic. People out going for an evening stroll, walking their dog. Or just coming out now because they're curious, because this is staying in the same general area. And that's what we see a lot. The longer a pursuit stays in one specific area, you're going to see more people coming out. Now on Miles Avenue and Slauson here, speeds of 40 miles an hour, picking up speed because he's got a lot of open road. You can see the one unit trailing, top of your screen there. 80 miles an hour, really jamming down that street now here.
Okay.
Through that intersection as well. And that was a red light he ran too, clearly, because you saw that opposing traffic.
Yeah, and you really are concerned. I mean, this is when it starts to get really dangerous with this driver driving this quickly, going through intersections, going on the wrong side of the road, not worrying about red lights. I mean, those are the kind of times where you could have really catastrophic collisions at some of these intersections, especially with a car that's driving without its lights on, coming that fast kind of out of nowhere. This is a dangerous situation that's now unfolding and getting more dangerous as this driver picks up more speed.
Yeah, it's taken on that role, that trend for sure, Alex. And initially we saw that the driver was going roughly 25, 30 miles an hour during those tighter residential streets. But now that he has these open streets, these major boulevards, like Pacific Boulevard there, he has open real estate. The suspect has open real estate, and he picks up the speed there. And you can see the other vehicular traffic. Once again, you saw that helicopter. That's an L.A. County helicopter that's tracking this from above.
Rick, we're going to still stay with this pursuit. We want our viewers to know that we're going to, in a few minutes, or actually less than a minute, transition to our Facebook page because we have another show that airs at 10:30 called The Issue Is, Alex's political show. But we want to stay with this pursuit, find out what happens here, and see how they bring this to a close. The pursuit now has moved more towards East L.A., so farther to the north here in this same general area.
Yeah.
So to our viewers, if you'll please join us on our Facebook page, we'll continue to have this pursuit.
Or watch Fox 11 for The Issue Is, or watch both at the same time. You can also join us at foxla.com/live for more pursuit coverage. Now, though, we begin The Issue Is. And hello to everybody that is joining us right now or still joining us on our Facebook page on the foxla.com/live. Thank you so much for being here. Alex Michelson, Christine Devine, Rick Dickert for live coverage of this pursuit that's continuing through the south part of Los Angeles.
So, Rick Dickert, let's bring our viewers who are joining us by Facebook up to speed here and talk about what you're seeing with this pursuit. Just passing some police cars right there on the other side of the street. I think what makes this one so dangerous is that the driver's been turning the lights off and then on, but also off for much of this pursuit. And then, of course, now those very high speeds. Rick?
Look at that. Yeah, he's flying. The suspect is flying now down Soto Street here really quick. This is the fastest that we've seen this pursuit thus far. You can see the speedometer there in the upper right corner of your monitor, of your laptop, your phone that you may be watching this pursuit on. Thank you for watching. Slowing down at the intersection, but running through. That was a clear red light, but he did slow down just a bit. The suspect did. Unclear still why this individual is being pursued. Is that correct, Alex and Christine?
We're still trying to get information on this. We do know it started with Bell PD in the city of Bell. They have their own police department. It started with them, and then it's gone into the Southgate area, into the Maywood area. But again, noting this driver has not gotten onto any of the freeways that are kind of in this general area.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and that's one thing to watch. They're choosing to stay generally in the same area, the Southgate, East LA area at this time, picking up speeds and definitely now traveling on larger surface streets, not the residential areas we saw when we first picked this pursuit up. Now on Soto Street, East Los Angeles, Southgate, again, those communities are a bit to the east and southeast of downtown Los Angeles. The driver, the suspect, and again, we're still trying to ascertain exactly why the suspect is being pursued. It could have been simply just a failure to yield. Perhaps the suspect was speeding. Perhaps they ran a light, they got lit up, and they didn't get pulled over. And this could be a mutual aid situation, and likely is now. And that law enforcement agents all over this area, East LA, LA County Sheriff's deputies involved in this, Maywood as well, will be involved to try to bring this to a safe ending. We always talk about the lead agency, though, Alex and Christine, in that who initiated the pursuit. Those are the officers. If it was in the community of Maywood, which we're hearing, then it's the Maywood PD.
Bell.
Is the
it's Bell PD.
Bell. Sorry, my correction.
Right.
Bell PD. That they were the ones who picked this up. And wow, look at this, right up against that big rig. This is a mixed area. This area of Los Angeles County. It's industrial. It's residential. There's some commerce in here as well, and you can see this suspect continues to evade police at this time in this dark sedan. Lights on now, lights off at times, 40, 50 miles an hour, slows down in other areas, and then picks up speed again. Now on Olympic Boulevard, and Olympic, as you both know, runs from this part of town, from East LA all the way to the coast.
And thank you to everybody that's joining us on our Facebook page. We're looking at your comments. I think there was one person who was especially proud of you, Christine, for bringing us up to speed on a pursuit, which I thought was...
When I said, I was like, oh, boy.
Which was well done, and we appreciate everybody paying attention to us as well and being with us on a Friday night as we watch this pursuit that's picking up speeds. Now slowing down a little bit as we turn the corner here. Rick, if you had to bet, I certainly would put my money on the fact that this driver is probably from this neighborhood based off of the way that this driver is driving, based off of all of our experience. The fact that this driver has not gone onto the freeway gives you an indication that this driver's probably driven around this neighborhood one or two times before, or a whole lot more than that.
And very possibly communicating with someone on his or her cell phone in the neighborhood, a friend, a family member. Many times we hear about that, and hopefully those individuals on the other end of the line, if that is occurring, is saying, hey, pull over, bring this to an end, don't hurt yourself or anybody else. That's what law enforcement agents always want to do in situations like this. And now back onto East Olympic Boulevard. Again, this is an area to the southeast of downtown Los Angeles, very close to the 710, the 5, and the 60 Atlantic Bandini Olympic there. From above, I can visualize this in my head, and you can see with our extreme nav system, East Olympic Boulevard, that's where we are at this point. Speeds of 50, 55 miles an hour, above the speed limit. Any vehicle violation, whether it be speeding whether it be running through a stoplight or a red light, they can be cited for, and officers will take note of that.
You know, I'm looking at the comments here, and Linda asked about a pit maneuver here. Sometimes the speeds are too fast for a pit, if I have that right. And sometimes they want to just let this play itself out where nobody gets hurt. We don't know the want on this. So we don't know if the thought is that this driver might have a weapon on board or if they know what they're dealing with. But Rick Dicker, do you want to share your thoughts, having covered so many of these pursuits in Sky Fox? Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, they run the plates. They first run the plates. We may find out that this is a stolen vehicle, and that information isn't going to be valuable to the police officers who are pursuing this suspect at this time. But possibly they do know, and possibly, again, they may know more about this individual than we do, obviously, because we're not even sure how this pursuit started at this time, now on Soto Street. But when it comes to the pit maneuver, the pursuit intervention technique, and there's the freeway there. Yeah, there's the 60, the 5, and the 710. The East LA interchange is right there. Right there in East Los Angeles.
And the decision not to get on it once again.
Exactly. So they can try to answer that question, Christine, Alex. They could try the pit maneuver at any speed. They try to do it at speeds less than 35 miles an hour. That's the top threshold. If they really do find a need at some point when the road is open, they don't say it's got to be a split decision where there's no other pedestrians around or other automobiles, anybody that could be injured, then they could try it. And at this time, that is a possibility. But as of right now, you could see the speeds back up north of 50 miles an hour. This individual in that blacked out sedan being pursued by police officers and still staying in the same general area now on Soto Street and going at 52 miles an hour.
Yeah, and by the way, we are reading your comments, and we appreciate those of you that are thanking us for doing this with sound. We're going to try to do that more often as we work overtime on a Friday night. I hope you're still keeping your TV on Channel 11, or at least DVRing The Issue Is, especially if you have a Nielsen box in your home, especially keep it on. But we do appreciate you joining us here online as well, and as we all watch this together, as we watch this pursuit go through the streets, and we wonder sort of what's going to happen next. One of the interesting things that we're watching together is this driver's going back and forth on turning lights on and off, which I'm not remembering seeing that too often during pursuits. And this driver, they're slowing down.
Slows down. But yeah, that was a close call there too. It looks like that was a red light. That was a red light they ran through there on now Cesar Chavez and Soto Street. Still in the East LA area, still just north of where this pursuit first started, or at least we first picked it up. And you can see now it looks like lights off, lights on, right?
Yeah. You know, it's kind of interesting for us to do these pursuits and also be in connection with our viewers here who are on Facebook and getting to see your comments and your questions and noting that people who are joining us from so many different parts of the country, people saying they're from Oklahoma, Arizona, Nevada, Ohio, watching, even London watching this pursuit. We can just hope this ends safely. Right there you saw like a food truck, which means there would be people there gathering as well. Right. And that's what's scary when you see these speeds and this driver with the lights
red
off.
Light. And red light right there.
And Christine, this is also a reminder that there's a lot more people out now. I mean, things are opening up more slowly, and you're starting to see that people are going out more on Friday nights. That people are not as concerned necessarily about COVID. There are not as many COVID restrictions. The COVID case numbers are not as high. Not saying you shouldn't take it seriously, shouldn't wear a mask, shouldn't social distance, but it's clear just looking at this road that it is a different picture than we saw maybe even a month and a half ago when COVID was in a worse position here in our region and in our country.
We haven't seen a lot of people on these streets too much. Now, I say he because we don't know if it's a he or a she. He's been in largely residential neighborhoods and then some of these wider streets here. And perhaps we just haven't passed too many businesses that have been open at 10:30 at night, restaurants that would have dining outdoors, for example. But as we watch this, Rick Dickert, you have a fan, Mason, saying We miss you on Good Day LA. We should note that Rick Dickert spent so many years on our morning shift. We brought him to join us on our 10 p.m. shift. Yes, Rick?
But I'm happy to be with you guys. That's where I want to be.
We're happy too.
Thank you, though.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yes, please watch us at 10, the 5, and 6. And Alex, I'm DVRing. The issue is because I love your political show.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully you you at home are as well.
Can I just note,
if you don't have a DVR, it's on again at 1:30 a.m.
I was going to say, can I just note that our whole hour at 10 p.m. does re-air at 1 a.m. So if you miss it, you're up late. And the issue is,
that's right.
And you know what? The sad part for Christine and myself is we are both usually here still working at 1 a.m. on other things, and then when I see the show come on, usually that's a sign it's time probably to start to go home. That means we're here.
I usually get home and say, Alex is still there at work.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I have one friend who does watch the rebroadcast at 1 o'clock, and he always texts me and says, hey, I'm watching, because he's like a night owl and he stays up. And yes, we're on at 1 a.m. And we continue to watch this, going back to this residential area. You can see on Fairmont Street here. And there's people coming out because, as I said, when this pursuit stays in one general area, any pursuit does, Alex and Christine, as you've seen as well as I have, people are curious. They come outside. They want to record. They want to, Instagram, what have you, and show what's happening in their neighborhood. Not the safest thing to do because you just don't know what's going to happen. Stay inside. You can see making a left turn against the red. There you go.
A few of you have also noted on Facebook that, or made comments on LAPD. This is actually Bell Police Department, the city of Bell. This pursuit has gone in different areas in this general area, though. Bell, Maywood, Southgate. But this is not LAPD on this one. It is Bell PD. And if it would get on a freeway,
that's right.
It might go to CHP. Go ahead, Rick.
That's right. And it's a mutual aid situation. Anytime a pursuit transitions over a border into another city, a jurisdiction, then those officers will definitely have a contributing role. They won't be the lead on the pursuit, like what we're seeing here. The pursuit, and we're still trying to ascertain why it started. Could have been a simple failure to yield, as I said. It could have been something else. They were tracking this suspect. The suspect may be wanted for something more violent. We just don't know at this time. Bottom line, they lit the suspect up, and they haven't pulled over. And the pursuit was on and is still on. And thankfully, nobody, at least from our vantage point, has been involved in a collision. Nobody's been hurt. But they want to bring this to a safe conclusion. And you could see the helicopter above still shining down, that night sun, that illumination from the L.A. County airship, because this is L.A. County jurisdiction through Bell and Maywood and East Los Angeles. So we do have a mutual aid situation now.
And Bell is one of the smallest cities in Los Angeles County. Famously, it was the center of major corruption stories years ago, and there was talk at the time about whether the Bell PD itself should be disbanded and whether it should be part of the L.A. County Sheriff's Department. That did not happen. The Bell PD, though, is one of the smaller police departments in Los Angeles County, but it does have its own police department, and that police department now at the center of this chase. Christine.
Well, we've seen that with different jurisdictions going from Sheriff's Department control to independent. Compton, for example, had changed. Alex, as we're looking at comments here, one person noting that they had met you at Taste of Soul. So we do appreciate our viewers that we've gotten to meet. Yeah, we didn't get to go this year because of pandemic time. So unfortunately, Fox always has a great booth there, and we get to meet our viewers and say hello to people.
I miss Taste of anything.
Well, you can do takeout.
But by the way, a shout out while we all watch this together. Dine LA is next week, which we did a segment on that earlier today, which is a chance to go to your neighborhood restaurants, big deals, lunch starting at $15 for really great deals. DineLA.com. You can get information about that. Okay.
You know, it's one more excuse, though, to support our local businesses and our local restaurants.
All right. I know that's what everybody wants to hear about. What they really want to hear about is this pursuit as we continue to watch it at 10:45 on a Friday night together. This driver driving in circles around several communities, including Bell, Maywood, Southgate, other parts of Los Angeles County.
Left turn by Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Left turn there by the Pizza Hut. And I'll tell you what, at any moment, as I watch this, as we watch this together, Alex, Christine, everybody, and thank you for watching us online at this point. Anything could happen at this point because this driver is so erratic. He could collide with another vehicle. God forbid, with a pedestrian, a bike rider out there at this hour. You see it. You know, we're a city that works around the clock, and people have their schedules. And you know, he's running through red lights. He's speeding, and he is staying in the same general area. Again, Maywood, Bell, over towards Commerce in East LA, Cudahy as well, and Bell again, where this pursuit was first picked up, an unincorporated city. And I'm sorry, it is incorporated. It is incorporated city in LA County. Yeah. Yes, that's right. And the population, it's a small town, 35,000 compared to other municipalities in Los Angeles, but they do have their own police department, and it was their police department that did initiate this pursuit. For whatever reason, we're not sure why. If it was a simple failure to yield, we don't know if it's just the suspect who's driving the vehicle or if there's other individuals inside the car. But this pursuit has gone on for some time here. And if that tank was full, it could go on for hours. It's possible at this time. But we're still trying to find out why this suspect was being pursued in the first place. Bottom line, it's a dangerous situation anytime somebody is rolling through surface streets, busting through stop signs and red lights at high speeds, putting the general public in danger. Which brings me to the point, Alex and Christine, is that sometimes you will see law enforcement pull back and go into what we call, quote, tracking mode. Tracking mode means that the helicopter will follow and the units will back off, so that hopefully that will de-agitate the driver, so that the suspect, will slow down and not endanger the public.
To answer the question from Denise on our Facebook page, we picked up this pursuit around 10:15. It was in the middle of our 10 p.m. newscast. You do always wonder, Rick, how these are going to end. Does the driver just suddenly pull over and give up? Does the car run out of gas? Do they jump on the freeway and continue on to a whole other neighborhood? Do police do a pit maneuver? Can they get a spike strip out there? Right now, the vehicle, I believe, is more towards the Boyle Heights area, which would put us farther north than, say, the Bell area. So, Rick, would you guess that Bell PD has stayed with this the whole time? It hasn't gone on the freeway, so no CHP takeover.
Typically they do. If they're the lead agency on a pursuit, and again, we don't know the background yet of why this individual is being pursued. He or she may be wanted for a violent crime. We just don't know at this time. That if the Maywood Police Department, the Bell Police Department, I should say, picked up this pursuit and wanted to bring this suspect into custody, they're going to stay with it. They're going to make sure that this suspect is taken into custody, and they will continue to track this suspect. But in tracking mode, again, the helicopter from above will follow the individual until he or she decides to pull into a residence. We don't know what they know about this suspect running the plates. We don't know if this is a stolen vehicle. Bottom line, what we have seen, what we can watch from above, and you'll agree here, Alex and Christine, is that the suspect has decided to stay in the same general vicinity, not getting on the freeway, staying on these surface streets, very close to Southgate, Cudahy, Maywood, and Bell.
And a couple more shout-outs for those of you watching us on Facebook. Karen White says she loves the sound. Thank you to us. So thank you to Karen for watching. Desiree with the best comment. I love you, Christine Devine. Thank you for all the years of good news. Have to agree with Desiree. Ethan says it's his mom's birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday
if we could
to
give
Mom.
her a shout-out.
We'll take a minute for that.
So Ethan, happy birthday to your mom. We appreciate you guys spending that birthday night with us. And a lot of folks are asking about Stu Mundell. Of course, Stu works in the mornings.
I say he's sleeping right now.
I hope he's sleeping.
Right?
Although, you know what? Maybe he's just so into pursuits that he has been woken up by the pursuit gods.
What time does he get up,
watching
though?
us. I think he gets up at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Rick Dicker, you know you worked that shift forever. What time did you get up for that shift?
That was like a 2 a.m. wake up for me. You know, I'd get up, I'd go for a run some mornings and get ready, just try to keep that 9 to 5 mentality, even though we were working on the 0 dark 30 side of the clock. Slowing down. Slowing down through that intersection here, and you know, at times you could see the driver's a bit pensive and
Okay.
look,
Here's
a
U-turn.
180. We haven't seen that yet.
We've done that. Yep.
Yeah. A 180 there. You guys can clearly see that night sun, right? You could see the helicopter illuminating the pursuit. And again, that helps. There's a CHP unit there as well. I just saw that. And the reason why we lost this signal, this is what happens. This is how I know my knowledge about Skyfox. Skyfox had to do a 180 as well. And when we do that, when we do a hard 180 and we rotate around, remember, we're keeping a live television signal. So at times, when we do that, we lose connection because we're essentially radiating a beam of energy for live pictures from the helicopter to a mountaintop back to you, or you guys are watching at home, and that's why that happens at times. Now back in a residential area, Herbert Avenue here. This is in East LA. Once again, hasn't moved. The pursuit hasn't moved much geographically. Lots of options to get on the 60, the 5, the 710. Hasn't done it, but this is a tight, narrow area yet again on Herbert Avenue, and now making a left turn on a frontage street. There's that night sun, right? You see that?
Yeah, that's lighting them up really, really good right now as this driver continues onto these now narrow residential streets where, again, the concern is that somebody may be out on the street walking their dog, or some people may come out because they hear the helicopters, they want to see what's happening, and they potentially put themselves in danger as this driver continues through these streets. Here we go into an intersection, and every time we hit one of these intersections, the danger really increases as this driver once again hitting some open road and really starting to flying through another intersection,
through
another
a red light.
No regard for that, and we worry about another car that may be driving nearby and not be prepared for that driver coming through a red light. That's where we could have a catastrophic collision, Rick.
Every minute that this pursuit, every second that this pursuit continues at this level, there is that threat. And officers know that. And they want to bring this to an end. So they're going to have to make a decision here. They're going to have to say, hey, we got an open road here. Let's pit this suspect. Let's bring this to an end so that nobody gets hurt. Hard left turn there. Now, this is an on-ramp, it looks like, getting onto a freeway.
Oh.
Yes, here we go.
Okay.
Off the residential streets onto a freeway here.
And our
lit
lights,
up
does the
from
guy have lights
sun.
on?
I don't think so.
And off, picking up speeds here.
710 South, Rick.
So now this is the 710 South. Again, I kept saying, you saw that unit just down below there. Now really ripping high speed, 710, 60, and 5. All that East LA interchange area there. And now they decided to get on the freeway and say, we're out of this residential area. Lights off, night sun is on, moving at 87, 88, 90, 100 miles an hour, lit up by that LA County helicopter night sun. And now the CHP is going to be involved. And this turns into even a greater concern. It was down on surface streets, but now even a more significant danger as this driver has decided to get on the 710, the Long Beach Freeway southbound here, heading out of that area of East LA, out of Maywood, out of Cudahy. That would take him down towards Southgate. The 105 freeway would be the first interchange, then the 91 freeway, and then down into downtown Long Beach.
So, Rick, this is a game changer with this suspect. Almost looked like he was going to go to the off-ramp there. This is a game changer with the suspect now on the freeway. You see all these other vehicles now in danger. CHP likely to take this one over because they know the freeway so well. The lights are still off. So scared for people who are on the freeway who might not see this coming upon them, except for that night sun overhead.
That's right. And this may be a situation now where officers may want to pull back and track it from the air. In that the danger level has increased. The greater the speed, obviously, there's more vehicular traffic that we're seeing on the freeway than we did on surface streets, at least in some areas at this time. But this is the 710 South, now at Atlantic Bandini, coming away from the interchange, the East LA interchange. Wow, look at that, veering to the left. And just look at the speed of the suspect in relation to the big rig traffic. And the 710 is a big rig traffic freeway because that's in and out of the Port of Long Beach and the Port of Los Angeles. You could see those container trucks make their way north and south, as I have from Skyfox for years, but you could see this is roaring down the 710 freeway and very dangerous. You could see it with our extreme nav, 90 miles an hour.
All right, so then you have to wonder how this now comes to an end. Does this driver decide to get off onto a surface street? Because this driver has been on surface streets for
here we go.
the entire...
I think they're answering your question,
Maybe.
Christine.
You called it, Christine.
Yeah.
You called it. It looks like it's perhaps an exit, but sometimes a little cat and mouse. So let's see what happens. Sometimes they act like they're going to exit, but it looks like the suspect didn't. They could have exited right there, but this is that frontage road that appears on freeways. But it looks like, yep, exiting the 710 freeway here.
And the light's back on.
A tight little roundabout off-ramp.
We talk about people sometimes staying in a neighborhood in which they feel comfortable, streets that they know. If they're planning to bail at some point or give up, sometimes they want to do. That's a weird move. They want to do it in a neighborhood in which they're comfortable.
Yeah, no question. And look, those units are right on his tail. I mean, they're still on the suspect's tail, he or she. And you can see there, and that night sun, spot on. That L.A. County Sheriff's helicopter right on top of this suspect being pursued here through the East Los Angeles area. Still back to East L.A. on Florence Avenue now. Florence is a major east-west thoroughfare that runs by the 710 freeway there through South Los Angeles. And we'll see what this suspect decides to do at this point. But you can see officers aren't backing off at all. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's on surface streets or freeways. They're staying on point with this suspect and want to bring he or she into custody.
So on this one, do we know, Rick, if CHP actually took over on the freeway, or wasn't there enough time for that to happen? Because he wasn't on that long.
There clearly was some coordination. There was some communication because the California Highway Patrol, meaning they patrol our highways, the 710 included. Yep, right through a stop sign there, but slow down a little bit to the right. Night sun's still on it. Through Southgate. East LA, same general vicinity. But to answer your question, Christine, clearly the lead agency on these pursuits will make sure that other agencies know, including the California Highway Patrol, because what they want to do too is provide safety for other motorists. So if they have to block on and off ramps, if they have to make sure that they hold traffic back so that when this pursuit approaches a certain area, that's what they're going to do. So always the CHP will provide that aid, whether or not they're going to be the ones who eventually bring a pursuit like this to an end. You could see opposing traffic, and that traffic was an officer there. And I'll tell you what, that helicopter, spot on with the night sun, our extreme nav, spot on, 60 miles an hour, ripping by that Metro bus there. Wow.
I've got a question for you from Joseph, and because you've been a helicopter guy for so long, figured you might be able to best answer this question as we look at that night sun right there. Is someone manually pointing the night sun, or is it automated? That's from Joseph. So, Rick?
I know. A great question. No, they're typically on those helicopters, whether it be LAPD, whether it be the LA County Sheriff's Department. There is the pilot who is just focused on flying the aircraft and keeping it up there safely. And then there's a spotter. And that spotter is the one who is relaying important information, pertinent information to the crews on the ground, the units on the ground, about what they see from above. And that individual is the one that typically has that joy. It's like a joystick. It's like a game.
All right, copy.
10:15. It's now 11 o'clock at night. We're staying with you here till they bring this to an end, hopefully. It's been in the Southgate, Maywood, Bell areas, south of downtown Los Angeles. We know a lot of you are watching from areas that are not in Southern California, such as South Dakota, Mexico, Australia, Switzerland. We see your comments on our Facebook page, so we thank you for tuning in to Los Angeles and what's happening here. It is a pursuit in a residential area now here in this location.
Can you guys hear us? Just comment if you can hear us. Okay. Now we are. Okay. Sorry about that audio problem.
And I'll tell you what,
the audio is back. Rick, take it away and get everybody up to date.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Sorry.
And you can see back on these narrow residential streets, Alex and Christine, which we've watched all evening long as the suspect is being pursued, slowing down at times at the stop sign there, other times just ripping through stop lights and stop signs. And it's unclear, but again, we believe when we see situations like this that these suspects like to hang out in neighborhoods that they're familiar with, perhaps because there's a friend there, maybe somebody who could help them out, maybe a family member, maybe they're in touch with them on a cell phone. We don't know why the pursuit started still. This pursuit was initiated by the Bell Police Department, which is a very small community off the 710 freeway, south of East Los Angeles, southeast of downtown Los Angeles. It did briefly enter the 710 freeway, but for the most part, it's been like this in these residential areas, in these narrow residential streets. And you could see, again, that helicopter from above watching with that night sun, directing ground units to what's happening and what they see, providing important intel, and those ground units there as well. But now at this time, because the vehicles slowed down, Alex and Christine, there might be that opportunity, especially in wider streets like this. Back onto State Street, you could see that a pit maneuver might be possible. And when we say pit, look at that. That unit's pulling up. Pit meaning pursuit intervention technique, nudging the back left or back right of the vehicle, spinning it out, bringing it to an end.
Yeah, viewers watching this might think, why don't they bring this to an end? The driver's kind of been going in some similar areas, but not necessarily a loop where they could put out, say, a spike strip. The speeds now, this would be too fast for a pit maneuver. So, Rick, for those who are just perhaps joining us and want to know about how that works, how would they consider a pit? This street's wide open here. Looks like it could be fairly safe if the speeds were slower.
They train for it. I've seen it, again, from above, up in the helicopter. There's a training facility for the Los Angeles Police Department and really picking up speeds. Now, this is dangerous. Down Florence Avenue. Florence is a major east-west thoroughfare through this community, and you can see against opposing traffic there. Super dangerous. Look at that. That is opposite traffic that suspect is driving in at this point.
Ooh, yeah.
But again, there's a facility up off the 5 freeway, up in the northern end of the San Fernando Valley, close to Silmar, near the Los Angeles Reservoir, that the Los Angeles Police Department trains for these types of maneuvers. And essentially what they do is they have an alleged suspect being pursued in a faux neighborhood. And what they'll do is they will come upon it from behind, nudge it either on the left side or the right side, speeds of 55 miles an hour as we watch this one, and spin that vehicle out. But again, the speed is paramount, and what's happening around the area is paramount. And that is where the split decision needs to be made with officers on how they conduct that, if they want to. Typically, they want the vehicle to be going 35 miles an hour or less. Not always. If they feel that, hey, we got to do this, we got to bring this to an end. Right there, see that? Pretty much wide open street. There was one vehicle there. If there's a chance, maybe they'll do it. But at this point, and as we get later, there's less and less vehicular traffic. I haven't seen many pedestrians out at this time, and those are things that are taken into consideration. They want to bring a pursuit to an end safely. They don't want officers hurt, obviously. They don't want the general public hurt, most importantly. And that's in the mindset of these officers at this point. But this has gone on quite some time. We picked this pursuit up,
10:15.
What, 45 minutes ago, perhaps now?
More, yeah. 10:15 is when we picked it up. It obviously started before we got there, and now we are at 11:07 with special coverage on our Fox 11 Facebook page, on our website, on our app. Thank you for joining us from here in Southern California and around the world as we all watch this police pursuit in the streets of Los Angeles tonight through these residential neighborhoods driving at high speeds at times, driving through red lights, making some random U-turns. For a short period of time, it was
lights off, lights on.
It was on the freeways. Now it has mostly been in residential streets. And one of the things that is most striking from this, as Rick just mentioned, the lights on, lights off nature of this, driving through these dark streets with no lights on, which just increases the danger of it as those cop cars drive pretty close behind.
Yeah, they are, and that night sun, spot on. I keep, because just with all my years up in the helicopter, Alex and Christine, seeing the precision of the LA County, from what we've seen, the LA County helicopter that's been tracking this from above and using the night sun, and it looks like that is an LA County SUV that was there. That was not Bell Police. So you could see, as I mentioned, there are other agencies involved. This greater area south and east of Los Angeles is policed by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, in addition to the individual municipalities. And there is that crossover. There's that mutual aid where they will use all agencies involved. And there's a beautiful shot of the night sun right there. There's a good look at how that spotter up there and that helicopter trained to track individuals like this who are racing, chasing, running from police at this time. And here's the situation, and we've watched this play out. We don't know who this suspect is, why they're being pursued, if there's anybody inside, if they're armed. All of those are unknown. Perhaps law enforcement knows a little bit more, Alex and Christine, but a lot of times they don't, and they have to expect the worst. And all they want is this individual to pull over safely. Let's bring this to an end. They run, the suspects do, because they feel that there's a chance they can get away, and sometimes they do.
Well, Marie on our Facebook page noting that this pursuit had gone into Huntington Park, that would be to the west of Bell, still in that greater area south of downtown Los Angeles. We're talking Maywood, Bell, Southgate, Huntington Park. Lights off here still. Kimberly asking about a spike strip. And Rick, if I have this right, that street is so wide that the driver could drive around a spike strip. Remember, it's dangerous for an officer because they've got to throw it out there. They've got to deploy it. Also, you have to know where the suspect's going to get that officer in place and be ready to throw out that spike strip. And right now, if the driver's going in streets that perhaps are a little unpredictable, it's not like he's going in a circle. It might be hard to predict where that driver is going to be, where you could get that spike strip out there. But I think right now, like looking at a street like this, Rick, it's so wide he could probably drive around it.
Clearly, and that's a very good point. When you deploy the spike strip, you want, essentially what we want to do is we want to disable this vehicle, whether it be through the pit maneuver, the pursuit intervention technique, as we pass by that same McDonald's. So again, staying in the same neighborhood, or they disable the vehicle by rupturing the tires. And when they throw that spike strip out, you're right, they have to believe that the suspect is going to be in a certain area. But the more they watch this from above, and if there's a pattern over the minutes that we watch this, that, hey, this suspect keeps doing this roundabout on Pacific and Slauson onto the surface streets here, then they will deploy officers out in that area. But that's hard in a situation like this. And you're right, that's a wide street right there. They don't, the spike strip, lights on, lights off, light bright, and throwing the spike strip across a big boulevard like that, it's impossible. And if they do see it, if the suspects do see it, as you mentioned, Christine, then clearly they can quickly do a roundabout and not engage with it and continue on.
So the lights are back off at this point. Amazingly, this driver not in the mood for chicken McNuggets after all of this driving past that McDonald's over and over again. Some breaking political news, I'll throw it in there. The House just passed that COVID relief bill a few seconds ago. So it's 11:12. We're all working overtime here. And the East Coast, it's 2:12 in the morning on Saturday morning, and that COVID relief bill just passing the House. So you're
that means what?
That means that it's going to head to the Senate next week, and most likely going to be meaning checks of $1,400 for most of the people watching this. Probably middle of March, end of March, will be coming into your bank accounts. So we're doing political coverage and pursuit coverage as we're up late on a Friday night with you tonight. As we watch online tonight, as this driver continues, the lights now back on. This is the kind of situation right here, right now, where you might be able to do that pit maneuver. But right now, the officers have chosen not to do it. You see one of those helicopters from the police that's flying overhead. There are also media helicopters from several different stations that are following this driver as this driver continues to drive relatively in circles around these neighborhoods. It's still unclear exactly what led to this pursuit. But we do know that it has been underway for at least an hour now as we approach this intersection.
Look at all those birds.
Yeah.
You see all those birds there?
It's very Hitchcocky.
Wow, that was something. They must have been hanging out on top of one of the buildings there, and perhaps got startled by the helicopters, as you mentioned there, Alex. And of course, this is a situation in a neighborhood. As you see more of the birds there. Yeah. Staying on Bandini, back in the same area, and slowing down a bit, because we've seen this driver, this suspect, and we don't know why the pursuit is on. We don't know what this suspect is wanted for. Once again, it could be a clear traffic violation, and they just decided not to pull over. But driving erratically, lights on, lights off, unclear if there's anybody else inside the vehicle. The night sun from that LA County Sheriff's helicopter doing a great job following. And now the driver going a bit more slowly, driving a bit more cautiously here, and making their way down on Bandini Boulevard and very close to the 710 freeway, back towards East LA, back towards the Bell and Maywood area off the 710, 5, and 60.
So, Rick, I'm looking at a comment here that's appropriate for what I'm about to say here. He says, "I need to sleep." We've been watching this since 10:15, so an hour now. We're going to probably wrap this up and call it a night, and hopefully this ends peacefully with nobody getting hurt. Hopefully the driver just eventually pulls over and brings this pursuit to a close.
It looks like, and Christine, as you say that, and as we sign off, it looks like just from that wider shot from Skyfox that officers on the ground at least may have pulled off, and you could see perhaps that's why the driver is slowing down and being more cautious and not as agitated, because as we had widened out there, I didn't see those units trailing the suspect like we had earlier. So that's a possibility. It could now be in tracking mode. But that helicopter, that LA County helicopter that's been tracking this from above has been so good. They're going to need fuel eventually as well, because we don't know how long this pursuit's been going on. We've picked it up and have been tracking it, but now you could see the suspect driving more cautiously, stopping at the red lights. And perhaps that tactic is working, where they back off and track it from above and know just enough about the suspect that say, hey, we're going to get he or she eventually.
Fatima asking why they are chasing him. We don't know the want on this. We just know it's been going on since we picked it up at 10:15 in the city of Bell, which is south of downtown Los Angeles. And they've stayed with this. He got on the freeway, he or she got on the freeway for a short time, very short, and got off pretty much in the same neighborhood. So not really leaving this area too much.
Yeah. Rick,
nobody tracking the suspect now, and the lights are on. Lights are on, and nobody's tracking. You notice that?
Yeah. Since the so Rick, we're going to say good night to you for this Friday night. Thank you for all your expertise. Pursuits are much better with you helping us along. Since the police have pulled off of this, we're going to pull off of this in terms of our commentary. But Skyfox is going to stay up above it. It's going to be a feed without our audio, though, that's going to continue. And hopefully, assuming that Skyfox has enough fuel, it will be able to continue covering this until this pursuit hopefully comes to a peaceful end soon. We thank everybody that has been joining us online. It's fun to watch your comments and to be involved with all of you. And we hope that you will continue to watch this stream and that you'll join us next week for the news as well when we're back at work.
I'm Christine Devine here with Alex Michelson and Rick Dicker. We thank you so much for being with us. We do hope that